everybody, and we are finally back live. I'm not using my usual microphone, so you guys let me know if you can hear me clearly. And let's see if our friend Kevin from FSFX Packages is out there somewhere. Where is he?
Yeah, I'm here.
There he is. So just before we get started, if you guys, for those of you watching, if you can give us just a quick chat on the stream there, let us know that you can hear us both clearly. We'll go ahead and get started. So, Kevin, I'm really excited because you guys have, I think, created what is undoubtedly going to be a gold mine. And everyone that I've spoken to so far has just been dying to get their hands on this chase plane. Someone's saying they're getting an echo from me. Is anyone else getting an echo?
Probably, well, if you cannot hear an echo on my side, maybe it's fine, but
Well,
I
they're
have a
saying
lot
that.
of reverb in my room. I don't know if that's the
Well, no,
that's
they're saying they're getting an echo from DeAndre. So, is anyone else hearing my voice echoing by chance? I just don't want us to get too far and something doesn't sound right because I'm not using my usual microphone today. So, okay, negative. Okay. So chase plane. So the original thought was I was just going to do a stream and just show people how quick it was to set it up. But why not have the man who created this masterpiece do this and just kind of walk me through it, kind of as a noob, and kind of show us where the alpha build is so far. And before we get started, I should definitely note that this is an alpha build, so it's not in beta yet. It's still in its development processes. So any potential errors or bugs that you might see, please just keep in mind that this is something that is a product that is still in development, and of course will not necessarily reflect the final build. So did I cover that disclaimer well enough, Kevin?
yeah, that's perfect. That's very good.
All right, so I guess we should get started. So let me go ahead and switch to our desktop. Let's see here. And you guys should be seeing on your screen a sort of a picture-in-picture mode with my little Xbox controller. I'm watching the stream myself. I haven't seen it pop up just yet. So what I wanted to show you guys, just sort of in this picture-in-picture, is I'm going to be using my Xbox controller to control the cameras. And for many of you, you might use a different device or a different controller. Pretty much what I've discovered so far with ChasePlane is the potential for what you can use to assign cameras and everything is pretty much endless. But in my case, I chose to use an Xbox controller. You might use something different, so I just don't want you thinking that, oh, you've got to go out and buy an Xbox controller in order for this to work. But pretty much any control device that you can hook up to your PC that has enough buttons and accesses on it will pretty much work for this. So I had installed it a couple of days ago, played around with it. I thought that for today's stream, we would go ahead and just start off from scratch, complete from the installation. So let's go ahead and do that. So we've got VFX Central up. And I know, Kevin, of course, you're watching the stream as well. So you might see a little bit of a slight delay here.
Yeah, I was saying to I was like, no, there's no VFX Central open, but yeah, it's fine. Yeah,
So if the delay gets too bad, we'll try to do the screen share again. I'm just not sure how badly it's gonna affect the stream
no,
at
it's
this
fine.
point.
It's only a few seconds, so it'll be good.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click the direct install. So let's go ahead and install ChasePlane. The other reason why I wanted people to see this is because you've done some really pretty animations and stuff going on here. And I thought it would be good to kind of show off this whole process as well. Again, this may not necessarily reflect the final product, but some very nice animations. And I like how every time it starts, there's an airplane or a helicopter or something, some kind of animation. So the installation is completed. That was quick.
Well, I need to press apply, so it downloads and install.
Ah,
Oh, I'm late. I forgot. Okay, fine.
yeah.
It's confusing.
All right, and let's see. Okay, and so now we've got so we can close VFX Central because we don't need that anymore. And we'll just minimize P3D for a minute here. And let's go ahead and open up ChasePlane. So now we have this icon here. And we get a nice little Learjet there that pops up. And that's the flight simulator there, probably, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, I've got to close P3D to continue. Okay, we'll have to restart
Well, you can
P3D
save the flight if you have it and just restore it
and just
once it's
reload it.
installed.
Okay, let's just do that real quick.
There are a few files that we modify that requires P3D to be closed.
Save that as a favorite flight. And let's close P3D. In fact, let's go to the task manager and close it quickly, because sometimes P3D can take a minute. Where are you? Alright. Alright, let's go ahead and hit configure. Terms and conditions, we agree. Unless there's something there that says you agree to let us come into your home and sit on your couch and eat your food.
You sell your soul.
Yeah, exactly. All right, simulator configuration. ChasePlane needs to make some modifications to your simulator's configuration files. We make backups to every file we modify to restore the previous configuration. Please refer to the user manual, and we're going to go ahead and proceed.
Yeah, because the user manual does not exist yet. So
okay,
don't run around searching it.
I didn't get this one before. Corrupt configuration. We've detected a fixed corrupt configuration in FSX SE P3D. Please restart your simulator. Well, we've already closed it, so I'm guessing that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. It's all right. I'm noting it because this error should not be visible at this point of the install process. So that's fine.
Awesome. All right, and so we also have this option here to auto launch the platform every time you start your flight simulator, and I'll go ahead and click yes. Dynamic CPU assignments. You want to just go ahead and explain that really briefly?
Yes. Basically, because we're using an relatively old platform, CPU usage is concentrated on the first cores mostly, and we want to keep the performance as best as possible. So what ChasePlane does is it checks for CPU usage and will choose to operate on the CPUs that are the most available, that are less used. So you have the option to say if you want ChasePlane to do it automatically, or you can configure the CPUs yourselves in the preferences afterward.
So, because I tend to notice when I'm using P3D, I think it tends to use about 3 cores out of the available 8, and so with this, what this will do is it'll search after the cores that P3D isn't using. That way we're not just, putting additional impact on the cores that are in use, basically.
Exactly. It will target CPUs that are used at 70% or less, with a minimum being half of the cores that you have installed on your system. That's basically the logic behind it.
That's awesome. The other camera program I don't think does that.
Well, no, the other camera programs you can set the I think the priority of the software in the task manager. That's basically it. You cannot select cores like that. Not on the fly. I've rarely seen applications at all where you can select CPUs on the fly like this.
That's amazing. I mean, and a lot of people I think are thinking probably by default that this is really just maybe a new version of an active camera system, but one of the things that I really want to point out with this is you're looking to take this much further than that, and with all of the you and I talking kind of behind closed doors and the ideas and stuff that you have with it, and we won't get into it yet because it might be still a little bit early, but this thing is going to be it's going to have a plethora of options and different things that you can use aside from just a camera tool. But we're now at the text tutorial, so I don't think any of this is really quite ready yet, but do you want to just kind of give people an idea or an understanding of what they can expect from this in the final release?
You can go into the textual tutorials. I think you'll be going across 2 or 3 steps, including some tests. But it's something that's meant to be seen. It's going to be in the alpha as well. What we plan on doing on those tutorials is really create a very interactive experience with the users, where we will show them around the software, including voiceover and everything. So you don't really need, in the end, you don't really need to read the manual to use it. You only go through the tutorials, and if you forget something, you don't have to search for a manual and read a ton of things. You can go straight into the tutorials and have it from there.
And the other thing that I really liked about this is people like me tend to be a little bit hard headed and don't want to read the manuals right off the bat.
Yeah.
And what I found is that just by installing it and playing with it, I actually had the camera up and working like inside of like maybe 5 minutes, which was great without having read anything. So that's kind of how easy to use it is. But rather than me just running in and doing that, actually, I should probably start prepared again because we're going to need that. I'll have you kind of walk me through it. That way, everyone else can kind of see just how easy it is, and you can maybe take me more through the proper way to do it as opposed to me just jumping in and assigning it. But I think that's one of the things that impressed me most about the software was within 5 minutes of installing it and with using my Xbox controller, I had all the camera movements and everything up and running quickly, which is really, I think, the best thing. Oh, there's one of the animations. This one looks like a P-51. And I think each time this comes up, it probably shows us a different version or a different aircraft, doesn't it?
Yes, indeed. Right now, though, you have multiple instances of ChasePlane running. That's a bug that we have, and that will be fixed soon. So you might want to close down both versions, both iterations of it, and launch it back.
So and I think what's happening there is when I select start up with the simulator, and if it's already running, it's just looking to do it again, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we've not done the behaviors for this yet. So yeah, basically.
Well, that's even better because now we get to see some of these other animations now. Oh, it's
Yeah,
still
exactly. We have a multitude of aircraft, and we'll add some more for the release. I think having a splash screen like this is very interesting
I like it.
for
Okay,
people to see.
let's try that again. There we go. We got the P-51. I don't think we'll get the aircraft.
Yeah, you have one at the in the tray as well. Yeah, okay, that should be fine.
There we go. There we are. And so while we wait for Prepare to load, Kevin, I've gotten the opportunity to meet you twice now at Flight SimCon. I didn't know that you had this thing because I don't think you announced when you started this off, you were really cryptic, like something big is coming, and you kind of had like a cryptic picture. And I think a lot of people, just community wide, were probably going crazy trying to figure out exactly what it is that you guys are planning to show off. And a lot of people accurately guessed that you would be coming out with some sort of camera tool. Take us back because I would have loved to talk to you about this at Flight SimCon, but obviously it was probably at a stage that was a bit too early. But take us to the inception of this. When did you start this thing?
We started, well, the idea was conceptualized a few years ago.
Uh oh.
And, as a starting business, as FSFX Packages and Old Prop, we needed to start with something smaller.
Hang on one sec, Kevin. Can you hear me?
Sorry?
Your audio, or I can barely hear you. Something happened here.
Hold on. Is that better?
Oh, there you go. Okay, we lost you a little bit. There we are. Perfect.
All right, so yeah, starting as a small company, we needed to start with smaller projects like FX and our immersion packages. And once we got the company big enough with those projects, we could start focusing on bigger projects. And a camera application is always something I wanted to do because of the lack of good software in the community. Many of those are working, but are not to my taste. I'm a UI developer. I design user interface. That's what I like doing, and I was not very happy with what I had already out there, and the possibilities as well that a camera software could offer in Flight Sim. It's basically data, and we play around with data. And I always wanted to play around with Flight Sim data and do something useful with it. So ChasePlane was conceptualized. We gave the outline of the projects, and we prioritized some of the items, including the turbulence and the camera motion and the joystick configurations, into what's today ChasePlane Alpha. Those are right now the basic features of a camera application that you would expect from a camera application. But it's really, ChasePlane really is a platform, and we'll add so many things to it in the future that it's only the tip of the iceberg right now.
Yeah, I can see that. And as I said before, it's got so much potential. Another thing, just before we start, that I also wanted to point out, and you probably can't see it just yet in your screen, but looking at the ChasePlane, it recognizes the aircraft that I'm in, but it's also showing our VAS usage here.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's
Well,
yeah.
we were literally one line of code away from having the VAS, so we were like, why not showing it? You know.
Yeah, I think that in and of itself is going to be really helpful, because one of the things that people are always trying to monitor is their VAS usage, and to be able to just get an idea of where you're at. That's always a good thing. Okay, so here we are. We're on the main screen here. I think you can see that by now. So
Yeah, absolutely. Just a quick thing,
yeah.
from the chat, we hear that there's your voice is a bit low, so I don't know if you want to do anything about
Yeah,
that.
I did up it a little bit. Can everyone hear me a little bit better now? I hope so. I did up the
So
volume a little bit.
so if we want to start off with ChasePlane, what's the first thing to understand really is that, and I explained that to you off camera earlier, is an external application cannot directly know what's happening inside of the simulator. All right. So what ChasePlane does, it sends command to the sim, and the sim's applying those commands. So that makes it so that you can no longer use the right click button to change camera angles. You have to go through the ChasePlane interface or assign some buttons to do what you wanted to do. Right now, we have the possibility to be on board of the aircraft or outside of the aircraft while being attached to the aircraft. Eventually, with the static mode, we'll be able to go outside of the aircraft and stay at a fixed position at an airport, let's say. And we'll add so many more things, different camera position and settings, that you will no longer need to use the right click button to go to tower view or any other views from there.
And that's going to be really helpful. I think the fewer amount of times that you need to grab that mouse, the better.
Exactly.
All right, so
And we feel that most people these days are using shortcuts to access the views that they want the most, either through the keyboard or joystick. So we figure we don't really need the menu anyway. We're still offering an in-sim view selector to replace that if people still want to use their mouse. So if you hold the middle mouse button while in the simulator, it will pop up a circular menu where you can select the camera. So that replaces that right-click menu.
yeah, and I did notice that as well, which was also helpful. So here we are. We're ready to set up. So what's the first thing I should do?
All right, so a good practice would be, after installing it, testing the various features of it. So toggle between outside and inside, go in the cameras tab, zoom in, zoom out, try the different axes from the interface directly, just to confirm that everything is working properly. Once that's done, we'll start building presets or assign keys, and we'll make a tour of the UI basically.
Okay, so right now we're just kind of testing out the camera here from the interface. And that's moving forward, moving
So a cool addition that we have that many of the existing camera software don't have is the roll feature. Being able to roll the camera left and right is it gives a unique perspective that we're not used to seeing. So for photograph and people who are very visually savvy, they will like the roll feature.
Especially for those video guys, I'm sure that's
Yeah.
something that'll definitely come in handy.
Absolutely. And if you ever get stuck in a position where you want to put the camera back where it was or reset to 0, a cool thing you can do is simply click on the view mode on the top right to reset the camera to the initial position. So on the top right you have the cockpit, you have the outside view, and you have a small planet next to it, which is disabled right now. But
And reset would be what, the play button here?
next to the play button, you have a cockpit frame and you have an aircraft frame. If you click those, you will go from inside to outside. And if you click back again on those buttons, it will reset the camera. The play button is the cinematic mode.
Correct. That's right. That's a cinematic mode. So it looks like we've got all of the everything seems to be working.
Yep.
So what's the next step we want to do?
Now your lateral button is stuck.
That didn't snap back, did it? There it is.
Yeah. Those are small glitches that we see in the user interface. But if you click on the green button on the top right, you should reset the camera position.
There we go. So just by double clicking.
Yeah.
There we are. Okay.
So basically, what we'll start by doing is creating preset, because I feel that's what most people will want to do first. Usually we start with the cockpit. We can start inside or outside, doesn't really matter, but we can create, let's say, a cockpit camera. So we'll press the plus sign on the top left, and that will give you the possibility to name the preset after what you want. If you're in the presets tab, you press the plus button on the bottom of your column.
Okay, so we'll just move this. Let's say we move this over to the center and maybe move it back a little bit just to kind of show the full flight deck. And now we're going to hit the plus. No preset loaded.
Yeah, you rename that to the name of your choice.
Okay, we'll just say,
so one of the features that we want to bake in is a naming prediction in ChasePlane directly. So if you move the camera right or above in the cockpit or whatever, we want to be able to suggest names to the user when they create their preset. That's something that we have on the to-do list.
Okay, and then if we go back to preset and we click that, that takes us back there again.
Yeah.
There we go. So now we have a very easily saved camera view.
Exactly.
And then,
exactly.
Let's see. Okay.
And a cool thing as well, if many people create, they create presets and they want to access them easily through a shortcut or a key binding. What you can do is hold the control key on your keyboard,
Yep.
and you'll have some blank buttons under the preset that allows you to bind some custom controls to call this preset as a shortcut. You have to be in the presets tab for this.
Right, so I see. So I click on one of these. So the purple would be a button, and the sort of reddish button, that would be an axis, correct?
The red button is a joystick assignment, and the purple one is the keyboard assignment.
So let's fool with that. So let's say, for example, this one's a joystick assignment. So let's give it, let me see, am I using this button? Okay, so we'll click on that, and it recognizes joystick, HOTAS Warthog, button number 1.
Yeah.
And okay, so let's bring the camera somewhere else really quickly, and we'll just move over here. Oop. We'll go over here, and now when I click that joystick number 1, it should just bounce us back to where we were.
Yes. Right now, we have a check in the simulator to see if there's something already bound to this button in the sim that would cause conflict. So So depending on what's bound to this button, you might or might not see erratic behaviors if it's not removed from the simulator.
Well, that's actually good to know. Fortunately, this one button is the one button that I don't have attached to anything. So,
Good.
so I guess we can see what might it say if I do attach it to something that is already pre-assigned in the simulator. Actually, you know what? Everything is assigned through FSUIPC, so I guess it doesn't matter. Now that I think about it. All right, so what's the next step?
Well, we could assign some control bindings. It will be easier for you to to move around the camera and showcase it.
Yes. You know, it was funny because I was already getting ready to start moving to changing my view, and I realized we haven't set everything up yet because we uninstalled everything just so that we could start from scratch again.
Exactly.
So let me see here. There's one question here coming from Ben, and he's saying, can presets be created using a keyboard shortcut?
You can save existing presets using a shortcut, but the idea is good. I'll add that to the list of things. Basically, what it will do when you hit that save button, it will prompt you with a naming box. Then you write the name, you press enter, and then you're done. I'll add that to the list of things to do.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start assigning some accesses here. And for the Xbox controller, for going forward and backward, I like to use a little joystick thingy on the Xbox controller. Confirm, and let's see. And there we go. Now moving that forward, I can go forward and backward. So that was easy. And then move left and right. Same one, left, right, and I should be able to go left and right. There we are. So the reason why, and just for you guys watching the stream here, the reason why I like using the Xbox controller is I like that it has the little, I don't know what they're called, but the little mini joysticks on here, because it allows you to get this really nice, smooth panning movement. If you have an additional joystick, that works too. Now, I should also add that if you are going to use like an Xbox controller, when you plug it in right off the bat, Prepared automatically assigns accesses and button functions to it. So you're going to have to make sure you go through and delete all of those before setting any of them up. Let's move on to move up and down. What do I usually use for that? Let me see, pan left and right.
Manoli asked, how do you get ChasePlane before it's released? Well, the answer is simple, because I'm here. It's the occasion to showcase the product to the users before they have the opportunity to buy it without looking. You know, it's an alpha, and we want to make it clear to everyone that it's an alpha. It's functional, but people must be aware that there might be some crashes, there might be some bugs that are unresolved, and I really don't want people to buy this product as a final product. They have to be aware of this. But
Exactly.
the Android did a good job at the intro. So if you weren't there for the intro, go back to the intro.
Yes, disclaimer. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a product in development. So I was just showing while you were talking there, Kevin, the differences between using the D-pad and the axis. So in this case, for the up and down, I actually like to use the D-pad to go up and down. So in that case, we would go to the button section, click those with the mouse, and now we can go up and down and left and right. The next one would be the tilt up and down function. And that we can go back to the axis again. Confirm. Ooh, and that's backwards. So let me see. I think I can reverse that, right? Let me see. We want to reverse that axis. Confirm. Now we can tilt up and tilt down, if you guys can see that. So very quick and simple and easy to use. And using both of them together, now we can do all this kind of funky panning stuff for going around the cockpit here, which is really cool. And again, that's why I like using the Xbox, especially if you're a video maker, that's going to work really well. Now, I know a lot of people, I did see some comments from a few people, at least on ADX, where they're like, well, This just looks like this is something only for video makers and maybe not for me because I don't make videos. I just like to fly. So again, where this is going to come in handy for you, number one, is you're going to have a really easy method of saving all of your camera views and having a quick way of toggling back and forth between all of them. So again, if we go all the way up here and we're panning up here like this, I go back to my Warthog, click that button again, and I'm right back to where I want to be. So again, that's something that's going to be really, really good. Okay, let's go to pan left and right, which I'm going to use for that. Oh, I need to reverse that axis. It's funny, it does it the opposite way on default. Oh, nope, I didn't get it. Let me delete it. And reverse, confirm. Ah, it's still going the wrong way. Try it one more time. It's still reversed.
Yeah, we're still figuring out a few things with the controlled.
There we go. So now we have the left and right axis here. So we can move forward, do this nice little pan here, turn to the left. We can go backward. And again, that's why I like the Xbox controllers, because you can do this really smoothly moving around like that. That is just awesome. And then we can pan down. Look how amazing this. I'm telling you, Kevin, I love this program. This is just amazing. I've never been able to move around the simulator like this before. Okay, now let's do roll left and right. Now for roll left and roll right, I like to use these buttons up here, which is I don't know what you call them on the Xbox, but it's these lower thumb buttons here. And we're going to go roll left, left trigger, roll right, right trigger. Oh, it rolled, but it's not accepting it. So let's try that again.
Yeah, you might run into some issues with the triggers because we're still trying to figure out how Microsoft deals with them.
Right.
There might be some erratic behaviors there.
So in this case, we might have a bug. I did have them working before. Let me skip that and do the
yeah, well, you have to disable the absolute positioning, the absolute axis when you bind them.
Ah, okay, let's do that.
If you disable that, it's going to work. It's just that Microsoft, with the recent updates, they changed the way the trigger works. So I'm still trying to figure out how to set those.
And what does that mean, by the way, the absolute axis?
Absolute axis is if let's say a rudder in its neutral position will be in the middle. And if you press right or left, the axis will go positive or negative. All right. The other mode is, let's say, a throttle. A throttle by default will be at 0, and the maximum will be at 100%. So that's the difference between those two types of axis.
Okay, and we've got that working, and now the zoom axis, and that seems to be working just fine. So if you're looking at the, now I don't know if that's very bright. I might need to get another light on that Xbox controller, don't I? Can you see that very clearly, or should I put some more light on that?
Well, if you can turn on a light, I think it would be. I see a shape of a remote.
Oh, you know what? let me get another light on this real quick so you guys can see that a little bit easier. Give me 1 second. Actually, you know what? I can use my iPhone.
Is there a way that we can change the motion speed when going forward, backward, up, tilt, and down? We'll see that a bit later on. That's in the camera's advanced options, but yes, there is a way to control those axes.
Let's see here. I don't know if that's added much additional brightness here.
Spooky.
Let me get another light. Hang on 1 second.
You can have a base speed and an accelerated speed, what we call speed boost. And in the preferences, you can also change the factor of the boost. So you can go at 2 times the speed of the normal camera, or you can go like 10 times the speed of the normal camera. You have control over that as well.
I'm dropping my mic here. I don't usually. I'm using the wrong microphone today. All right.
Well, it sounds fine. It's not
Okay.
it's not a tin can, so you're good.
Okay, and let me see if I can position this here. So I don't know. Hopefully that's not too bright. Sorry, folks. Let me see if hopefully that's a little bit better. I'm not sure. So again, just to show that one more time. So we've got our zoom, our left zoom here on the top button. And that zooms us in pretty far. Oh, that goes really far. Look at that.
We don't have a limiter on it, so at some point you might crash the sim if you go really too far,
really?
like 20
Ooh.
minutes.
Okay, that's good to know.
We haven't reached that limit yet, but we know there is a limit somewhere.
And there's a zoom
And
out.
a cool thing as well while experimenting with the zoom is that we've been able to zoom out further than 0.3. So we've been able to, we actually locked it at 0.3 because we don't know what's happening in the memory if we go beyond that. But
That's a good point.
we actually managed to get a point of view at 0.0001. It's like crazy wide.
And here we are just playing with the camera a little bit more now that we have, hopefully you guys can see the Xbox a little bit, or the controller a little bit better to see how we can pan around the flight deck. And those are the up and down functions. Okay, so the next step now that we're going to do here, and this to me is the most important one, and that's the global enable, because I get so many questions from people saying, well, can I use it with my Trek IR? I got a question earlier today in the group flight where someone was asking, can I use it with my Oculus Rift? I got a couple of questions the other day where someone was saying, well, you know, I like to assign my eye point movements to my yoke, so how might I be able to do that, and will this allow that? Well, if I try to use my hat switch, let me see here. Actually, it's not doing that. Or for example, where's Trek IR? Let's just turn Trek IR on here real quick and see. So you can see here, right off the bat, that's not going to work out with Trek IR. So that's really bad. So this is the best button here, and this is your global enable. And I've got my Trek IR here too, by the way, if you guys can't see that. That's my wireless, I call it a half antler. So what I like to do is I assign that button to the start button on the Xbox controller. Confirm. And now I can pause chase camera and then unpause Trek IR. And now I've got my full Trek IR movement. So as you can see, I'm not using the controller at all. I'm just moving around closer to the screen, moving back. And so that's how you're going to be able to use this, or your hat switch, or your Oculus Rift, or anything else like that. So it's just a matter of unpausing one and pausing the other. So what I usually do, and I'll see if I can move my camera here a little bit. One of the things I usually do here is on the Warthog, I like to use this button to pause. So right now I'm moving my head around, and there's no movement on screen. Hit it again, and moving around. So you do have to make sure that when you use Trek IR, let me just bring this up, you always want to make sure, and you guys should already know this, but in Trek IR there's a pause function here. So at some point you're always going to have to pause something. So what may or may not make it easier for you, and this is something that I'm considering myself, is maybe if I'm going to use, say, the Y button to pause ChasePlane, maybe I'll use the X button to pause and unpause Trek IR. That way, and either whatever I decide to do, I always have the pause and unpause buttons here. So that's pretty much how that'll work. So we're going to go ahead and pause Trek IR. We're going to re-enable ChasePlane using the start button. The next thing would be, and then I'll let you take over, Kevin. Because these next two are really important, is the onboard camera and the outside camera, to be able to go inside and outside the aircraft. So for the onboard, I'll assign that to the Y button on the 360, and for outside camera, we'll hit A. And now let's go outside. Actually, let's bring ChasePlane back up here. Or, oh, did I enable it? There we are. And now we're outside. So we can go inside and outside now. And now once we're outside, it's basically all the same exact movements once again. And a question that someone had asked me earlier, and I can kind of demonstrate that for you. Let me go back inside real quick. This was also, if the gentleman is here, someone asked me this in the group flight this morning. He said, well, if I start off from inside the airplane, is it possible for me to just walk straight out of the airplane? That's I feel like we're really short here. Let's move up a little bit. Someone asked me, well, is there a way that I can then walk outside of the airplane? And the answer is technically yes, you can. But the only thing that I notice is, depending on the aircraft that you use, certain aircraft do not include the external model with the internal model. Let's open that door. And that's the other reason why I chose this Captain Sim 737 as well, because you know, you can assign your views to the cabin if you want through ChasePlane. And he was asking if you can walk outside, and so the answer is yes. You can basically walk outside on the ramp. And Kevin, I'm not sure how far it can go. I'm assuming it's limitless in terms of how far you can go, but I assume we can walk out of this plane and basically just go anywhere on the airfield.
Right now, there's we've put some virtual walls in the cockpit, which are pretty far still, but they are present. What we plan on doing, and we already have most of it working right now, is virtual doors. So you'll be able to place doors in your cockpit and on the exterior model, where if you walk through that door, it will teleport you to the external model to the same position as this door. So technically it's possible to walk inside of the airplane to the outside of the airplane without hitting any buttons.
Okay, so so again, that's just another one of the features that you guys are currently working on.
Yeah, exactly. It is functional, but we've disabled it in the alpha version because we're not satisfied with it yet. So we'll basically rebuild it from scratch, like version 3. It's already the third iteration of it. But we really want to make it work like magic, and I think we're close to it.
Well, this thing is already magic, I can tell you that. So right now, I'm just kind of playing with the zoom key, zooming around the aircraft, and then let's get down on the ground. Take a look at some of the details here. And we can zoom in.
We can adjust the sensibility of your controls if you want to as well.
Yeah, and in fact, okay, so go ahead and do that next. So let's go back to ChasePlane really quickly, and there's a few more assignments here. Let's see here. So we have the outside camera. Static camera that's something that's not yet available. Do you want to explain what that's going to be?
Yes. So as I explained earlier, right now you have the possibility to be inside of the airplane or outside of the airplane while being attached to the airplane. Static camera, what it does enable is being able to place a camera next to your aircraft that's fixed on the ground, which is not attached to the airplane. So you can do a flyby, you can do an air show, whatever, and the camera will stay still on the ground. It's comparable to the world camera in the other most popular easy camera application.
This is something that I like, is in those movie modes where the background zooms in.
Yeah, that's never been done before.
Yeah.
In flights. I've never seen that happen.
I can have so much fun just screwing with this all day and wasting everyone's time. Okay. And the next one is toggle user interface. What is that?
Well, if you're in the sim and you want to call up the interface to create a preset, adjust some turbulence or whatever, You don't have to go in the tray. You can simply assign a shortcut button to it, and it will toggle the UI on and off.
Ooh, let's try that. And this is ready to work, correct?
Absolutely. Everything that's enabled in this panel is working.
Oh. Oh, I probably need to go full screen. Oh, there it goes. So now, will this work if I'm in full screen mode?
Sorry?
Will
Did you
this
say?
work if I'm in full screen mode? Right now I'm in window
In
mode. So it's
P3D,
going.
yes. In FSX, no. In P3D, yes.
Wow. Okay. See, now that additionally is what made this thing's worth its weight in gold. So right now I'm in window mode just so that everyone can see the cam or the Xbox controller and everything else. But when I'm flying and I'm on the fly, I don't need to go to window mode or refer back to my desktop. I can just hit this button, or I have to assign it. But this will pop up in window mode, and I can do all my work in full screen mode and prepared. It's amazing. I feel like this is
Ben asks a question about the resets. Basically, you can bind the left or right thumbsticks that when it's pressed, it resets the camera position. Not every axis individually, but it resets the camera position as a whole.
And then I can see Crosswind is there too from Majestic Simulations. Hey, buddy. Did you get to his question as well? He was asking about would it be possible to assign specific views to a specific key binding? Let's
Yes.
say in the case of assigning cockpit views without having the interface visible. So let's say if I wanted to set the captain, first officer, overhead, radio stack view perspectives, I know this would be more than likely possible via button assignments on the Xbox controller. However, there are some conditions where flying may not allow for using a separate controller.
Yes, absolutely. You can bind keys, you can bind joystick buttons. When you're in the presets list, if you hold Control, you have options to add shortcuts to your presets.
Okay. And so what's the next step we want to do now that we've got all these things already, these views already set up?
We could adjust the sensibility and the speed of the camera.
Okay.
Because, it's basically your first time using it, so you're still getting used to it. But adjusting the speed and the inertia it will help you a lot at controlling the camera and setting it up like you really want it to be. So in the cameras panel, if you go in the advanced tab, you'll be able to control the various settings of accelerations and inertia of each control type. So you have a global type, which changes those speeds for every controller types, or you can decide to assign specific speeds to your keyboard keys, or joystick, or mouse, or user interface sliders, all independently.
Okay, so in this case, we've got motion speed, and I've moved that all the way up to the maximum.
Yeah, that'll move fast.
And now, oh, that is fast. Wow, okay. And let's slow that down a little bit. So if we want to be a little bit more precise with this, I forgot what the default value was 1.
Yeah.
So if we take that down to, say, maybe half that down to 50.
If you double click on the slider knob, it will reset the default.
Ah, okay. So let's say if we take this down to 50 here, 55, and now we've got a much slower and easier to kind of pan around and do views here.
So you have the motion and you have the gyroscopic. Those are the motion left, right, up, down, and the gyroscopic are the pan, tilt, and roll.
Yeah, now this is definitely one that I would want to slow down, is that pan and tilt, because that can get a bit nauseating pretty quickly.
Yeah.
There we are, so that's a little bit slower. And what was the gyroscopic inertia again?
Well, the inertia is the same thing as the motion inertia. It's basically when you start moving, it will gradually come to a stop instead of stopping sharp.
I see. Oh, I see. So the lower the value, the smoother it is, and I guess the higher the value, the more it's going to come to an abrupt stop, or is it the other way around?
The other way around.
Okay. So it'll kind of, let's see here. Ah, look at that. So just holding this down and kind of doing this pan a bit, and then when I take my hands away, it kind of floats a little bit and kind of smoothens that out.
Yeah.
Although that's probably a bit high because it's still moving. There we go.
Yeah,
So
you can go
crazy.
pretty crazy with it.
Wow, no one has ever done anything remotely like this before. I mean, this is beautiful. Okay, what's the next thing we should take a look at?
We have in the right on the right side you have a column with a scroll. The scroll. You basically have all the camera options there, which is transition in and out. So if you have multiple presets, if you don't want them to transition from one another, let's say you have a wing view on the right and one on the left, you might not want them to transition between them because you'll end up in the cabin and some artifacts and everything. So you might want to disable those for both presets for wing views. That's an example. Okay. Skip when cycling presets. You have a key binding to go to the next preset in your category. You might want to skip some of those if you have multiple presets, let's say in the cockpit, that you don't want to go to when you cycle the cameras. Under that, you have the stabilization section. Right now, everything in there is disabled because we're still experimenting with those. But you will be able to enable gimbal, which means that the camera will stay steady, will stay level to the ground, regardless of the position of the aircraft. So it's basically like a camera in front of a news helicopter, right? Regardless of how the helicopter flies around, the camera will still be level and pointing in the same direction.
Wow. So it's almost technically decoupling the aircraft from the camera.
Technically, yes. It's decoupling the gyroscopic motion of the camera, but it stays within the position of the camera of the aircraft.
And how far away do you think you are from that?
We got it working. The only thing is that it's very jittery because of the ways SimConnect is working, but we have some alternative ways of doing it, which needs a little more development. So we're not sure when it's going to ship, but it will ship. We have already have a plan on how this is going to work.
Okay. And then there's one question here from Brawley57 who's asking, is my Xbox controller programmed via FSU IPC? And the answer is no. I don't use this for flying. I've got Virtual Fly Yoke. I've got Thrustmaster Warthog. So I would never consider using this for flying. I know that I do have some friends that do. I have a friend that flies for Delta, and he travels with his laptop, and so he tends to use this. But this is not configured either in FSU IPC or in the flight simulator directly. So one of the things that I mentioned before is the first time you plug this in, Flight Simulator by default is going to assign accesses and button assignments to this, and you will have to clear all those out. So at present, the only thing that this is connected to is ChasePlane directly. So ChasePlane is the program that's running all the camera views, so this has nothing to do with FSU IPC. Okay, so Kevin, what's the next step?
If you scroll down on the right column, you have framing overlay. Okay. And that's one that if you have seen our Facebook cover, some people thought that it was a Photoshop wizardry. No, actually, there is an actual framing overlay in the sim. So if you enable it and you focus Flight Sim, if you focus on P3D, you'll see the framing overlay in question.
Let's see. Oh, there it is. And explain the framing overlay to us a bit.
So for people who worked in media or photography, when you use a camera, usually you have crosshairs, you have frames like this. They'll help you frame your shots and make sure that everything stays in the frame, and that you get a very, very well composed picture. So that's what the framing overlay is for. It's for mostly videographer and photographer in the sim who want some help to frame their shot. And it's very cool to have as well for just any purpose. And the nice thing about it is if you use OBS with the game capture, the framing overlay is totally transparent. So you could do some streaming, live streaming, and use the framing overlay, and in the end the output of OBS will be clean without the framing overlay.
And I just noticed, I guess the way my OBS is set up, it's actually not showing the overlay. So I just minimized the screen there a bit in the window mode, just so that everyone can see that overlay. Because if we're in full screen mode, folks watching via the stream will not be able to see that.
Yeah, and one of the features that we added as well, if you move the mouse close to the top bar, the entire framing overlay becomes translucent, so you can actually see the menus you're clicking on. But as soon as you move your mouse away, it becomes back to opaque.
Oh yeah, there it is.
And the framing in the center is always 16 by 9 as well. So regardless of the resizing that you make, it's always going to stay 16 by 9. We'll give some more aspect ratios as we enhance the features of this feature, basically.
Okay. And then give me just 1 second to pause to talk to the wife. Hang on 1 second, folks.
Yeah. IFI Aviator, it is possible to use the mouse and the keyboard. It's much more convenient for most people. Some people want more cinematic and want more control over their views, so they can use a controller. But you're not obligated to use a controller. You can use the arrow keys and everything.
Correct, and that was the other thing that I wanted to point out as well. Personally, I think the Xbox controller is a good way to go because I can still use my joystick and fly and everything else and use this just as a third party to move the cameras. But if someone has 2 or 3 or 4 joysticks in their collection, they can pretty much use anything they want to make this happen.
Absolutely.
Here's the other question too, and because I'm surprised I haven't seen this yet. So let's say, for example, I've got 5 different joysticks and I want to assign an axis to each joystick. Like maybe in this case, this is my left and right axis and this is my front or my forward and backward axis. And if I have 2 joysticks, can I use both separate joysticks independently to operate those different axes?
So right now we have, in the preferences, we only have 1 key bind, 1 button bind, and 1 axis bind for most of them. We're limited to that right now, but the structure behind the software in the platform is able to take more than that. So we'll probably, depending on what the user feedbacks are, we might open up more bindings for let's say 1 per joystick for each assignment.
So in that case, it's still possible to use more than 1, but it's just 1 axis per joystick, correct?
Yeah, well, it's 1 axis per assignment. So let's say you want to move up and down using an axis, you can only use 1 axis out of all your joysticks. But you can bind a button from another joystick. That's not an issue. It's just you're limited to 1 axis per assignment, 1 keyboard button per assignment, and 1 joystick button per assignment.
I see. Okay. What's the next step?
We've seen the advanced feature. Turbulence feature will be if you want to taxi and take off.
Yeah,
my
absolutely.
demo in there.
Should we play around with that? Taxi around a bit?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Let's see here. I think the engine should. Oops. There goes my.
Try to put some harsh weather, some turbulence in it.
Okay. Let's see here. Settings. Weather. Some heavy turbulence in here. Oh, it was the minimum's 8,000. Yeah, that should. Yeah, we should actually hit it right as we take off. Let me see. I forgot what's the base altitude for this airport. We're at 6,000. So let's set it for. So as we cross 7,000 feet, we should start running into a little bit of turbulence here. Okay. I guess we can start by the taxi.
Yep. So we have various turbulence models in ChasePlane. We have one for jet engines. We have one for helicopters. We have one for turboprop and piston engines. Um, that's for engine turbulence. So the vibrations from the engines will be different based on those type of engines.
I don't know where I'm going, so I can't see if I'm going on the taxiway or not here.
A cool feature that we added is the turbulence behind the engines. So if you go behind the engine, it will actually shake the camera. And now you're in the grass, man.
Yeah, because I can't actually see where I'm going because I'm busy playing with the camera. Here we go. Okay, let's get behind that engine a little bit there. Yeah, I'm trying to do two things at once. Oh, look at that. And that's the engine effect there. And then let's see. And then we kind of go right in the middle. You guys will have to forgive my taxiing here. I'm trying to do two things at once. And there's the other engine. I've got my door open up there too. Is that thing going to close or not? No, now I'm busy fooling with the door, and now I'm back in the grass. So just with the regular taxi, aside from the engines, is there any other camera shake that we would necessarily see, or would we really need to get off the ground for that?
You have some anticipation turbulence, so the last slider on the right, but that's only in the cockpit. What it does, it uses accelerations from the aircraft combined with the joystick inputs to determine where your eyes should be looking at. So if you're coming into a turn and you turn right or left, the camera will actually move right or left, or actually point right or left to the direction that you want to go. So that's another one that we have on the ground. We have obviously the ground turbulence, depending on the speed of the aircraft and the size of the aircraft. The ground turbulence will be different. We have wind turbulence on the outside of the aircraft as well. That's ambient wind. So if it's a windy day, it will shake a little more than a calm day.
Okay. So let me see if I can get this thing on the runway properly now, because I can't see what I'm doing here. Let's see. Come on. And so for these effects, is it better to view it from the flight deck, or should we go outside of the aircraft a bit?
I think the flight deck is the best way to see the effects during takeoff and some aircraft maneuvers. Once you're in the sky, you'll be able to see most of the turbulences in the outside view.
Let's go for it. And at these current settings, we'll get a nice rocking with the turbulence.
Yes, you should.
Okay.
The default settings are very well made because I did them.
And these, okay, so we got the flight deck that's kind of bouncing around a little bit. That's ChasePlane.
Yeah.
So we can actually feel the bumpiness a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, it's taking us a while to get some speed here. There we go. All right, and I guess we'll go ahead and rotate, assuming. There we go. Wow, the movements are actually very realistic.
So the way that the ground turbulence work is we actually take the rotation per minute of the wheel. We actually calculate the speed of the wheels, and based on the size of the aircraft, we shake the camera according to that. So if you only lift the front nose wheel from the ground, it will shake a little less, and if you lift one other wheel, you will have basically 1/3 of the turbulence that you'd normally have on the ground.
Oh my God, so you guys actually did like a whole lot of math.
Oh yeah, it's very complex in the background.
So nothing about this is really just sort of generic. I mean, there really is some algorithms and subroutines to getting the realism out of this.
Yeah, the only generic thing that we have is the only random thing that we have is the random turbulence, basically.
Now, if I were to pause ChasePlane, will that pause the turbulence effect?
Yes, it will.
So in the case of, well, I guess that still comes to, because really the turbulence is not really, it's an impact on the aircraft, but really it's an impact on the camera. So if we want to go and use Trek IR, we're going to lose this turbulence effect, basically.
Indeed, and Track IR is on our list of things to do. So we want to bring built-in compatibility with Track IR. Only now we are concentrating on making the actual camera work before making it work with Track IR, but it's going to come at some point. And I know a lot of people are waiting for Track IR compatibility.
Okay, and then I see there is a question. There's actually a couple of questions here. Bruner is asking, what do I mean by saying that ChasePlane has to be paused in order to use the hat switch? So again, that goes back to Track IR or anything else that takes priority over the camera. Only one program or one item can have control of the camera at any given time. So if you use Track IR, you'll notice that you can't use the hat switch to pan around if Track IR is active. You have to pause Track IR in order to use the hat switch. And the same thing works with Chase Camera, is that if you want to use a hat switch to pan around, you'll have to pause Chase Camera in order for that to work. So a prime example would be, I'm going to unpause Track IR, which now you can see what happens when Track IR is paused. You've got two different things trying to take over at once. And the same thing goes with the hat switch. If I try to use the hat switch, it's going to do the same thing. So in order to get access to using your hat switch or Track IR, and I've already programmed the pause button here on the Xbox controller, is I pause that, unpause Track IR, and now I can use it. And the same goes with the hat switch. Now, if I want to use the hat switch, I pause Track IR, and I can use the hat switch to look around. So hopefully that answers your question.
There's another one also. Does the surface type change the amount of ground turbulence? The answer is yes. We have various ground types based on the flight sim software development kit, so we cover basically all of them. But yes, it does influence the amount of vibration that you get.
And I'm just going to try to see if we can stabilize the plane here and move to the outside.
Someone asked, will it work with AccuFeel? Yes, it will.
And let's go to the outside here.
Oh, you actually know how this autopilot works. I would never figured that out.
Yeah, the old classic VOR here. So now we're on the outside of the aircraft, and now we get to take a look at some of the turbulent effects here. Zoom out on that a bit. And let's bring ChasePlane back. And let's see if we want to. So we've got some options here. We've got aircraft, environmental, and human. So what are the differences between these?
So hold on, let me see. All right. So the aircraft turbulences are turbulences that are induced by the motion of the aircraft directly. So the acceleration, the gyroscopic, the engines, and the blast area behind the engines. That's directly related to the aircraft. And environmental, you have the wind and you have the ground. So the wheels on the ground interacts with the environment around it. So that's why it's.
Well, hopefully it saved everything. I'm pretty sure it did.
Well, that's why everything is stored in the cloud, right?
Well, I guess that's a good time to talk about the cloud. Actually, that's why we're waiting here, because that's a classic example. You go through all the hell of setting all this up, and then something like that happens, like in my case, and then everything is gone. So talk a little bit about the cloud and why you chose to go with that method.
Yeah, so the cloud is an entire strategy to make it easy for people to share presets around and settings and configuration. It also allows you to save your preset without having to carry them around in backup file. So if you're running a sim like this and you're creating presets for new aircraft, and then your sim crashes or your system crashes and you have to reinstall everything, you don't lose your presets all the time. When you boot your ChasePlane next time, your presets are just as they were when you last exited the application. That the same goes for the settings as well. And storing things in the cloud also makes it easy to share with other people. That's why we have a community tab in ChasePlane. It's not done yet since it's an alpha, but once everything is stabilized, we'll open the gates to share and find and download presets from the community. So we'll try to make a very, very rich user interface for people to choose their presets and preview them before adding those to their preset list.
That's amazing. And then at some point, we'll get into the community as well. Let's see, where's our little airplane here? Let's see, where did it go? That's fine, that'll work. And we'll just start from here and take off again. And I guess actually, yeah, while we wait for that to work, I guess we can talk about the community portion a little bit. Now I don't think we can access that just yet, can we?
No, we cannot. It does not exist yet, basically. But it's something we are starting to work on. We just wanted to make sure that the format of the presets are working now and people are able to use it, and it's flexible enough for us to build a community upon. But it's not available yet, and it's still on paper, basically.
And what are some of the things that people will be able to do with that functionality?
Let's say you download an aircraft, you just bought an aircraft, just installed it, and you have no presets for it. ChasePlane will ask you if you want ChasePlane to get the most popular presets for this aircraft and download those automatically to your preset list. So that's the kind of thing we can do with a community like this.
I hit the wrong button and hit ChasePlane. So for example, if I'm a fan of the Captain Sim 727 and I want to go in and make a crap load of different camera views for it, how will I upload that to the community? Have you guys worked that whole part up yet, where then someone else can just see an aircraft and then click it? Do they stay in the cloud? Like, how will they then apply it to their aircraft?
So in the interface, there's already a shared button. It's disabled right now, but you will be able to create a preset and then share it with the community, make it public. When you join the community, you'll be able to create your own username. So if you wanted to share a preset with someone, you just give them your username and they'll be able to find it in the community and download your presets from there. That's basically how it's going to work. When you install a new aircraft, well, you have the options. Like I said, ChasePlane will offer you to download the most popular presets, but you can also go directly in the community and see the most popular ones and preview them in the community before adding them to your list. So that's a neat feature.
Wow. And here's an interesting question. Crawley's asking, would it be possible to arrange the library for single, double, or triple monitor setup? That sounds complicated.
Single, double, triple. Do you mean systems or do you mean monitors? Because if you're talking about monitors, that should work built in, does it? I'm not sure I understand the question right.
Okay, and let me see, we're on a small runway. Let me take some fuel off here really quickly, just to make sure we can get off the ground.
Airline to Sim, hello. Is that Ben?
Oh, Ben.
Oh, Ben. How's Ben today?
Okay, so ChasePlane, let me see. Nope. Wrong button. There we go. Let's find that side view again. And since we actually already did the takeoff from the virtual cockpit perspective, let's take a look at some of the ground effects too. Might as well, since we're back on the ground again anyway. Let me see here. We need to go to camera, turbulence. Let's see. So that would be under environmental. Would that be underground?
What you're looking for?
So back looking at the ChasePlane interface, would that be just for the ground effect? So while we are doing our takeoff roll, for example.
Yeah, it's a ground effect.
Okay.
You might want to move the window just a little because it clips the top.
Oops. Here we go. And maybe zoom out a little bit. All right, so let's try that. So let's move that up a little bit. There's ground. Oh, I think I forgot about our turbulence too. We need to bring that back, don't we? That really slowed things down. Okay. Turbulence at 3,000. Bring that down a little bit. Okay, here we go. All right, so let's take a look at, hopefully we don't run off the edge of the runway from this point of view here.
Go straight ahead.
Ground. Okay, here we go. Let's see what happens. Maybe I can come in a little closer to the aircraft here. There we go. So now we've got this nice ground shake effect. And I think to simulate this, for a lot of video folks at least, they probably were using their software probably in order to do that, I'm assuming.
Who did what? Sorry?
I'm assuming for video makers, whenever they do that ground shake effect with their airplanes when they make these videos, I'm assuming they were probably using their video editing software probably to mimic that.
Most of the camera shakes that we see on YouTube these days are made by the editing software.
So now not only is fancy editing software no longer necessary, but now basically any amateur kind of filmmaker can make his own videos with these really cool effects now just by using ChasePlane, really.
Yeah, I got Edson from the Sky Lounge in Bellens told me, like, you just dumped us from our job. You know, we don't have a job anymore. Just set that automatic and everybody can enjoy it. Everybody can do it now.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. We might see an influx now of YouTube video makers now because you've basically just opened up the entire market for this sort of thing.
Yeah.
All right, so we've managed to get airborne again. Let's see here. So we were playing around a little bit with the effects. Now, when I got my blue screen, this was the one that I was fooling around with. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. And by the way,
which one was it?
It was this one here, the wind under the environmental.
Mm-hmm.
So I had cranked that up, and then that's when it went. Eh. So
don't put it to maximum.
Don't?
Should be fine.
Okay. Just in case. So there we are. We've got that part back. And again, if you happen to be just joining us, I should remind you that ChasePlane is still in alpha development mode. And so there may be bugs. And of course, if you happen to see them, this definitely does not reflect the final product. So that's quite a bit. So we can turn that down a little bit now. So there's the wind. So we get to see that effect a bit. There we go. Get a nice little even jitter there. Let's see here. So aircraft, so blast area and engines. Blast area is the area, I'm assuming, right behind the engine.
Exactly.
And so what's the difference with engines again? Sorry.
So the engine is the engine vibration. So you might want to use like the engine vibration inside of the aircraft. And the engine, the blast area is behind the engines. So depending on the thrust that's applied behind the engine, it will shake more or less behind the engine.
Okay, so let's try that. Let's go back inside. It's one of these two.
Jordan asks, can you explain what the virtual doors and virtual wall features will bring? So basically, the doors, let's say you fly a Cessna and you're right next to a door, you could set that door to be basically a door frame. When you cross that door frame, it will bring you outside of the aircraft instead of the VC with you on the outside. So you have the correct geometry outside of the aircraft. It's a good way to exit and enter the aircraft without pressing the outside button or the inside button. It does it automatically. And the virtual walls are configurable so that when you bang your head next to the window, it stops instead of going straight through.
So when you go from the inside to the outside with this door, and I'm imagining you're going to be passing, I guess, like an invisible line of scrimmage or something like that. I'm assuming it's how that will work. Like if you get a certain distance, or where you place the
Yeah.
door.
When you place a door, you basically place a hotspot. And when you get to that hotspot, it will teleport you to the outside of the aircraft and back in if you're on the outside.
And will the user be able to place that door, or is it something that
Yes.
will be a default value? Ah, I see. So when you
Yes.
walk
It's
through
something
that,
that users will be able to place, and that's why the community is there as well, because most people will not spend the time creating doors for each aircraft.
okay, I think we went above the turbulence, so let's go back down again. Wow, and so your view will remain the same. So when you cross this threshold, you won't really know the difference.
Exactly. If you're looking out and you don't see any part of the fuselage that changes from the internal model to the external model, you will not see any difference because the position is the same, the zoom is the same, everything is seamless.
There's the anticipation and the random. All right, so which should we take a look at next?
There's a copy and paste feature. You might want to create a few presets if you want to showcase that.
For just like views, or
Views, yeah.
all right, let's do that. Let's see here. Let's go and do a view from maybe down in the cabin somewhere, and maybe we can speed that up just a little bit. So maybe like an internal wing view here somewhere.
What we'll do basically, we'll create a few camera presets and we'll try to copy some custom options from one another using the copy paste feature.
Okay, and let's drop down a little bit, and we'll make a nice view looking right out the window here. Maybe zoom out.
Captain IFR asks if there's a plan to add some turbulence behind the wing from vortices and lift. That's a good idea. The hard thing with flight sim is that the wing geometry is not easily accessible. We'll see what we can do with it though, because it's a good idea.
All right, so we have a right seat wing view.
So yeah, you press the plus, you name it. That's good.
And
A cool thing with the save button is that you can change the target aircraft. So let's say you create a preset for this variant of the 737, but you know that eventually you will want this camera on another 737. You can change the target aircraft that the camera is saved to.
Wow.
The other way around is true as well. You can import camera presets from an aircraft to another aircraft.
Let me just make sure. I feel like I don't know if anyone can really see my hands on the Xbox controller there. I know the view is slightly different. There we go. I was wondering, it looked like it got a little bit smaller there. I'm going to make sure you guys can see this. There we go, that's better.
Is your Logitech webcam on a USB hub?
Yes, it is.
That's what might be causing the blue screen of death.
Oh.
I've seen that happen many, many times before.
Now, when I went to save this, when I hit the plus, it automatically had the seat wing view, right? Which is what I named the other one. I won't be overriding that, will I?
If you save it with the same name, it will overwrite the other one. If you write a new name, it will save it as a new one.
All right, so we've got that one. That's saved. And maybe we should do an outside view.
You could do one in the cockpit as well, like captain seat. And
All right, let's go back up front.
So you see that when you're moving the camera, there's a small green dot next to the camera tab, and there's an unsaved changes right up the name of the preset. That means that you have moved the aircraft, you have moved the camera out of the preset configuration. Okay, so if you want to save that new position, you check the green check mark, and that will save the preset with the current camera settings.
I see. So once I hit that check mark, that saved that, I think, back to left. Let me just check that. Yeah, it did. So it overwrote that one. So there's
Yeah,
right.
it saves the preset that you last loaded with the current configuration.
I see. Okay. And let's do an overhead shot. Well, I won't rename that for now since I already redid that, but we'll do an overhead sort of zoom here. There we go. And I guess I can do it from here. So now we've got the overhead panel. Maybe we'll do a pedestal shot here. Ped shot. And now we come back here, so there's right. That's pretty awesome. I can see Ben. I don't know if Ben from Airline 2 Sim is still here, but I think this is also probably going to be a perfect tool for his training videos as well, because if you want to focus on a certain instrument, just being able to hit these keys, and these are keys assignable, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
So you can hit a key if you know, if you're teaching someone, or even in probably even a classroom setting, if you're using a flight simulator and you want to quickly go from one gauge to another by using keys. I mean, that's something that could work as well.
Absolutely. That's what it's for, basically.
So we'll just name that main, and then we'll come over here, and then we'll go. So if I'm instructor DeAndre and I'm training the class, and I'll go, so kids, your main panel is going to be right over here. And there you've got that thing that does that and shows a bunch of numbers. And there's more numbers here. And there's a little circle roundy thing with some letters and some numbers. And then if you want to know how much gas you have in the tank, you go over here, you see. And now it tells you a quantity of fuel, and there's something about a temperature. It's not too hot in the classroom, so I'm not sure what that is. And then you look up, yeah, and you've got more buttons and knobs and switches. So anyway, that's really cool how that whole thing just kind of just snaps to really quickly as well. And can you control the speed of that, or is that pretty much a default value?
Do you mean the transition between them?
Yes.
Yes, in the preferences, you have an option to determine which speed transitions are made at. And if you want to customize, because in the overhead camera, If there's turbulence, you might find it hard to press any buttons or put the mouse on a certain button. So you might want to customize the turbulence for this preset and other presets like this one.
Wow. Look at the way that works. This is just, I'm in love with this program. Let's move that up further. Let's go to, say, 23,000 milliseconds. And try that again. Presets. And look at that. And it's much more, it's much smoother, the transitions between them. That's awesome.
You want to give control to the users to do whatever they want to do.
Sure, let's do
we're
it.
on the right way of doing this.
Sure, let's do it. Oh, I see what you mean. You mean in saying in how they want to do it.
Yeah.
What would be the next step now? What's something else you might want to show off? I'm just
All
having
right.
fun playing with this at this point.
So if you're looking at the overhead, let's say, and you're into some turbulence, the camera might move more than what you'd like, because you cannot. It would be hard to put your mouse on a button and click it, or hunt for those buttons. Okay. So you might want to go in the overhead panel preset, go in the cameras tab and in the turbulence tab to turn down the turbulence so that you're able to click those buttons. All right. And once that's done, you hit the checkbox to save the preset. And that will apply it to the overhead preset only. But if you want to copy it over to some other gauge-related cameras, you have a small copy icon on the top of ChasePlane. You have some two circles next to one another.
Here, okay.
And that's the copy function. And there you can choose what you want to copy over to some other presets.
And so, okay, so for the overhead panel turbulence, so let's say, I know we kind of climbed pretty high here, so I think we're out of the turbulence at this point. But all I really need to do is for environmental, let's say I want a lot of turbulence, right? Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
I can just move this up, and all I have to do is hit the check mark, and that only affects the overhead panel, correct?
Exactly. That saves the overhead panel with those settings.
Okay, so if I go back to preset and go to wing view left, now all of a sudden that's smooth. And then if we go back to the overhead panel, that's great. Now obviously this would be the other way around. We would want that to be smooth.
Exactly.
So that it's easier. So let's say, for example, we're flying through a lot of turbulence. Let's hit the check mark on that. And then let's see, we go back to this wing view here, back to wind. So right now we're flying through quite a bit of turbulence here. And we'll hit a check mark there. And now I need to reach something on the overhead, which I'm having trouble doing that because it's bouncing around a lot. When I go to that preset to the overhead, that's going to smoothen out. And now it's much easier. Look at that. And then back to, and these can all be done individually too. That's awesome.
Another alternative to that, if you still want turbulence, but you still want to access your buttons, there's an option in the preferences that makes it so that when you move the mouse, the turbulences will pause and allow you to get to the knob that you want to reach. That's another way of doing it as well.
And if someone did have the question about, as well as using the middle mouse scroll wheel to look around. So I thought I'd just show that really quickly, because that's really awesome. So you see when I click that, let me move this down a little bit lower so you guys can see that. So there's this little menu that pops up when I click the middle mouse button. And I can basically just click any of these. Some of these are kind of ghosted. So if I want to go to the other shots here, rather than having to pull up the, let's say, for example, if I don't have those other shots assigned to a key, I can hit the middle mouse button and then click that, and that'll take us there as well.
Yeah, you have to scroll through them to access the other ones that are grayed out. So you have multiple options there.
How do I, let me see, how do I scroll? What am I using to scroll with? Not the mouse wheel, right?
Yeah, you hold the mouse wheel until the menu appears.
Right.
You move the mouse on top of the menu that you want to access, and you scroll up and down.
Let me see. Okay, the scroll doesn't seem to be working though.
Yeah, we've seen that issue before. What mouse are you using? What manufacturer?
I've got the Rat 7, which is a Mad Catz, which is going to get replaced pretty soon. Yeah, and it's not working out too well, but it looks better than it is. But yeah, okay, that's probably why.
Yeah, I've seen that issue somewhere else, so you're not the only one. We'll
Okay.
be diagnosing it.
Diagnosing, yeah.
Yeah.
So in this case, so at least for now, so you guys can see this, so let's see, what else is available? Reset camera. Actually, it was letting me click before. Let me move the camera, and then at the very least, we can go back to that position. So in my case, it's not scrolling, so that might be one of the things, the bugs in the alpha mode that you guys are currently working on. Again, it's alpha,
Yeah.
still in development. So, but that's awesome too, because if someone doesn't have an Xbox controller, they can at the very least use this now to be able to get around, in a simple manner as well, provided that they've assigned all of their eye points and camera views.
Exactly. Yes.
What's the next thing we want to take a look at?
The cinematic mode, and I think that's going to be the last one because we've covered most of it.
All right.
Cinematic mode will enable you to get a different perspective on your aircraft while doing long cruises. In the user interface, in the cameras tab, there is a play button on the top right. And that's the cinematic mode. When you click it, it will enable and it will go around the aircraft and give you some cinematic shots of your aircraft while it flies.
Well, that's a weird shot. Let's see. Where is it going to go? Maybe it's making its way outside. There he goes.
Yeah, that's a weird shot.
That was a weird shot, right?
That's not supposed to happen. Yeah, alpha.
There we go.
So we have a button as well to skip camera angles like this. So if you're ever stuck in the aircraft, you hit the button and it asks for a new angle.
Oh, what happened to it? Did I close the window? It disappeared.
It's in the tray.
There it is. Okay. Well, luckily I assigned the button, so we got it back. There it is. And so I would just need to assign the button for the cinematic mode, correct? To skip around.
Yeah, well, to skip the angles that are odd, yes, you can assign a button for this. Cinematic mode can be manually enabled from an assignment as well, and it can be auto enabled as well. If you go to preferences in the camera section, there are options for the angle duration and the auto enable above 18,000 feet. So if you go on a cruise and you leave your computer, it will enable the cinematic mode automatically.
Nice. And I think we talked about this part before, and this is one of the areas that you're still working on with ChasePlane is, so for example, when I turn like this, the camera is basically coupled to the airplane, but the camera will be able to freestand, and we'll see the airplane kind of banking left or right without the camera moving with it. Did I basically understand that correctly? That's kind of what you guys are working on at the moment?
Yeah, basically we're working on a real chase plane per se. So an aircraft that will follow your aircraft, but not directly linked to it. So it will try to follow the aircraft. So we're working on this right now, and we're working also on a gimbal that emulates a news helicopter, basically, where the camera is always level to the ground. regardless of the situation of the aircraft.
That's going to be amazing. Well, Kevin, anything else we should point out? I mean, obviously we can see there's a lot of new features or a lot of features to the program that obviously you're still working on. You're still in alpha. How far away would you say you are to an initial release candidate? Or because I think I remember reading somewhere, and I could have gotten it wrong, but I thought I saw somewhere that you were looking at some point in February. Is that what you're thinking, or is it, or not February, but November, or could it be a bit further out than that?
So the alpha that you are using right now will be available to public early November. And the final, well, I don't like final because it's a continuously involved product, but the version 1.0 will be available early 2017, once we're satisfied with all the functions and when most bugs are eradicated.
And so people will be able to just go in and pay for the alpha, just as long as they're aware that it's still in development. They can go into full use and play around with it.
Exactly, because right now I think most features you'd expect from a camera application are already functional. So we've been approached by so many people to try it out, people who want it, that we decided that the best way to get user feedback would be to give it to the users, basically. So that's why in early November we'll be giving out, well, maybe not giving out, but making available ChasePlane to order on our website, the alpha version.
Awesome. Well, let me see. I only see one last point. I think someone said, and by the way, if anyone has any further questions for Kevin, now would be the time to ask him. I do see one question. There was someone said, will there be plans to add some turbulence from behind the wing from vortice and lift?
Yeah, I answered that one earlier.
Oh, that was, and I think that already is implemented, isn't it?
We have it for the engines, but we don't have it for the wings.
Oh, not for the wing itself. Okay, I probably missed that one while I was busy playing around. So we'll give just a moment to see if there's a question here. Actually, I think I saw this question pop up a few times already, where someone's asking, will you be doing full screen with FSX Steam Edition?
What do you mean by full screen with Steam?
So I think there was an issue with. I'm assuming what he means is because the ability for the interface to come up and prepared, you can use this interface completely in full screen mode. But I think you mentioned that it's currently not available or not working in Steam. I'm pretty sure that's probably what he's asking.
FSX, I'm not sure about Steam Edition. I need to verify for that, depending on if they changed the method of doing it or not. FSX used an old technique to use full screen that does not allow any window to be overlaid on top of it. And that makes it so that you cannot use the interface in full screen in FSX. I'm not sure about Steam Edition, but I'm pretty sure it's the same thing as FSX on this regard. So right now we're labeling it as not compatible in full screen with FSX and FSX Steam Edition, but I'll need to do some more testing on this to 100% confirm it. But I'm pretty much like 98% sure that it's the same story as FSX.
All right, and I don't think I see any other questions. Real question, will they be, I guess he's asking a barrel roll cam? I guess this is maybe what he's referring to. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, he knows.
Oh,
it's
okay.
Edson. He knows.
All right. Well, Kevin, thank you so much. I know it's your Saturday, and I pulled you away. And originally, I was just going to do a stream. All I really wanted to do, ultimately, what I wanted to achieve with this was just to show people how easy it is to set this up. The biggest concern for a lot of people, and certainly for me, I purchased EasyDock about a couple years ago. And I found that the version that I purchased, I knew that it wasn't compatible with Prepared. So I bought it fully knowing that at the time. But I knew that there were a lot of people that found like these little workarounds. You can go in and do edits here and there, and you could get it to work. And so I found that of all the edits that everyone was doing to get it to work, for me, it just never worked. Like, no matter what I did, I couldn't get it to work, and then I gave up. And then at some point, I think they did release finally a prepared version. I don't think it was an installer, but anyway, it was a version to work in prepared. So once I got it installed and had the interface and everything working, I still found it to be a real pain in the ass just to set up all the cameras, and I would save a camera and it wouldn't save. And I mean, and so anyway, I gave up on it. I just said, okay, that's it, I'm done, and I'll never have a working sort of camera for this. And so it's really just amazing. I want to turn down that turbulence a bit. Where is it? Before I get sick. Just staring at that. There we go. It's a little better. So, I mean, and when you first showed that first video, just demonstrating what Chase Camera can do, it was just a light bulb just kind of went off, and I'm just like, wow, this is it. I mean, number one, I think interface is everything. And one of the bullet points that you wanted to point out was, the new Windows 10 look has this new minimalist look, and you wanted to come up with an interface that not only kind of matches that, but the minimalist look is kind of going back to sort of the user-friendly days of computing, where everything was just very simple, streamlined, very easy to read, and not too intricate to take too much time to figure out. And so what I wanted to do was show people right off the bat from installing it, look how fast we can assign assignments and get the camera working. And so that's I'm sure that was what you were looking to achieve with this, and I think you've done it splendidly. Now you can install this thing and start saving your camera presets within seconds, and you're ready to go. And on top of that, you've got all of these wonderful animations, and each and every single camera has a plethora of options that you can use to get it to work. So, I mean, even little things like, okay, this camera can have a little bit more turbulence over that camera. And I look at the potential of this program, and it's endless. I mean, so for those people who are saying, this is for video makers or whatever, yes, absolutely, this is a great tool for video makers. It's a great tool for people who might want to start doing videos. But I mean, going outside of that, it's a great tool for training. I think, I think Ben from Airline 27 probably left after our little crash here, but I see this as being a terrific tool for training. And a friend of mine, Ed Valdez, who trains at Flight Safety, and he trains at Cypress College, and he has his own training program as well at his own flight school where he does training. I can already see him using this as a training tool. So if he is maybe if you have a first-time class and someone doesn't know the difference between an altitude gauge from a heading gauge or whatever, to be able to put this up on a big screen and have this set up maybe on his laptop, where you can kind of mirror screens where maybe they don't see the Chase camera, but as he's explaining the different gauges, and to be able to push a button and boom, zoom in on this gauge, and push a button and boom, zoom in on the panel, and all of that. Like, I can see just a lot of, I see so many different ways that this thing can be used, and that goes far above and beyond the simple, typical flight simulation enthusiast. So again, you've done a wonderful job putting this together. I certainly believe the community is going to love it, and kudos on you for making it happen, because it's intricate, and certainly it doesn't, this by all means, even though it looks simple, I'm sure was anything but in terms of its development. So
it was pretty complex. It was, but it's like I said, it's only the tip of the iceberg, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a simple thing of you saying the speed of the wheel determines the amount of turbulence effect and all this, and I'm like, you really did have to drill down and really do the math and figure all of this out. So wonderful job to you, wonderful job to your team. Thanks for coming on and sharing your Saturday with us, and we're looking forward to the actual release, or at the very least the early alpha. I'm sure a lot of people will be jumping on board.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for having me. Really, it was a very nice demo. And only thing I could say really about the alpha release date is, how early can November be? It's the only sentence I can say.
Well, if that's the case, couple weeks.
Couple of weeks.
Sounds good to me. And of course, AirDailyX.net will be front and center with that announcement. Everyone, thanks for spending your Saturday with us. We hope this was informative and interesting. And when it's ready to go, we will announce it. So until then, everyone, thanks for hanging out and enjoy the rest of your weekend.